Welcome to another Mitch on the Mic live stream, guys. So today we're actually recording directly from the Go Track. It's Australia's only indoor off-road play track. With me today we have world-renowned both businessman, also on-road racer, Ryan Maker. So introduce yourself, Ryan.
Hey man, yeah, I'm Ryan. For those who don't know me, I own a brand called RC Maker. I'm based now out of the Gold Coast in Australia. Actually 15 minutes from where Mitch is right at the moment, actually, which is quite funny. So yeah, could have done it in person, but no, that's all good. But yeah, I race RC cars. I have for, what is it now, 17 years. It's pretty much everything. I love it. I don't race so much these days. I'm more into the business side of things and making my own stuff. But yeah, I have massive passion for this hobby and everyone in it. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And we'll go through a lot of the business sort of side of things and that sort of side of things as we sort of go on through just conversation. Obviously, a bit of background and all that sort of stuff on my side. If you hear any noises and stuff of cars, just let you know there is cars practicing and stuff whilst we're talking. That's going to come and go, unfortunately, as we sort of chat tonight. Sometimes it might be nice and quiet. Sometimes it might be not so quiet, such as probably right now. But hopefully be the loudest it gets. Hopefully you can hear both me and Ryan pretty nicely. Apologies if there is a bit of background noise. So today's stream, we're going to discuss a fair few things. If you sort of read the Facebook post, you'll know sort of roughly what we're going to go through. Predominantly, we're going to start talking with, say, RC Maker, which is Ryan's own brand. So may as well kick off there, I guess.
Sure.
Obviously, you've been running this brand for, as you say, or how long roughly have you been running it for now?
RC Maker's been around, started in mid-2018 was when the actual RC Maker brand kicked off. I had a distributorship for VBC Racing back in the day, and that was kind of where I first dipped my toes in, selling RC stuff. And then, yeah, the AWESOMATRIX stuff happened, and that was kind of the point, everything just kind of started escalating, and I started doing my own products in 2018. And that's kind of when everything kicked off, and then we started the RC Maker brand itself. And then that kind of took over from what was originally VBC Racing Australia. So,
okay. What made you actually get into business with this sort of side of things? Obviously, hobbies isn't sort of generally the thing you go, okay, well, this could be not just a passion. This could actually be like a lifelong dream for me to own a business within this hobby. What turned you onto that?
It's a really good question, honestly. I don't know. I actually studied accounting and finance at university, and I was pretty into going into a career that way. But then as I went through my course and everything, and I got out of it, and I started going to seminars and stuff, I just felt like it wasn't for me. I don't know what to say. I saw the corporate world, and I'm just like, you know what? I just don't feel like, whilst this might be, turn out to be great, there was some gut feeling inside of me that was just like, this isn't for me. And yeah, I guess I just thought, what else could I do? Like, how could I do what I'm passionate about and what I love every single day, and also be able to make a living from it. So I guess that pushed me into what RC Maker is. And yeah, don't get me wrong, in the beginning, it was like, everything you got to start somewhere. It was slow in the beginning, it's like, okay, is this going to be feasible? And I was lucky back then. I was living with my parents and stuff, and it was kind of like, if this doesn't work out, it's all good, I've got, my parents to fall back on and stuff like that. So yeah, they've always been massively supportive. So yeah, it was kind of allowed me to take that little bit of a risk and do something that I wanted to do as opposed to what I thought, I had to do. And yeah, obviously today I look back and think that was the best decision I ever made, because every day I get up in the morning, I'm springing out of bed, make my coffee, jump downstairs, and just doing what I love every single day. So yeah, it was a good decision.
Yeah, so predominantly you work from home, all everything you design and all that sort of stuff starts at home, and you go from a production base from there, or how do you usually run things like that?
Yeah, pretty much. So now I'm actually based at home. Back in Melbourne, I was based in a factory. We had our own about 160 square meter factory. And when we moved to the Gold Coast, I kind of wanted to do things a bit differently and see. Then I was moving out onto my own with my partner and our daughter. And I thought, if I can try and do stuff from home, that would be the optimum. So we went out, bought our own place, and yeah, we ended up getting somewhere that actually works really well. It's 2-story, and everything RC Maker is downstairs. Everything not RC Maker is upstairs. So it's really good to have that like entirely split areas. So I can't start creeping from one room into the next. So yeah, it's basically business downstairs, play upstairs, and that's worked out actually really well. It's getting a bit squeezy, not gonna lie, because obviously we've been growing quite a lot. So we've been here about 1.5 years now. And yeah, definitely things have grown a lot even since we moved in, and we're kind of, having to reorganize and shuffle things around, make room for stock. But for now we're still okay here, but I feel sometime in the, not too distant future, we're going to outgrow this place. And then we either look at, if I want to keep working at home, we either, buy something bigger with something like, somewhere we can manufacture and stuff. Or we go out and get a factory as well. That's another option. So yeah, stuff to consider, but good problems to have. So
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's good to be able to say, as you said, 2 stories, you're able to separate your sort of your living life, your personal life away from your, career slash, working life and that sort of side of things. Like, it definitely would
yeah,
be tough to have it all in, a single story house and, be walking from one room into another and seeing all your work stuff and go, oh man,
yeah.
like, we'll
Oh
sort
man,
that out
exactly. I
tomorrow.
mean, it's physically separated, but mentally, I wish it was quite as easy to separate. I definitely take my work home with me. Put it that way. Walking from downstairs to upstairs in the house doesn't mean the head switches off. I can be lying on the couch and my brain's just running 100 miles an hour, and it doesn't really stop. So yeah, it's a good problem and a bad problem. But yeah, it's definitely, especially having my daughter now and stuff, it's definitely taught me to, really try and separate things and yeah, keep, you got to make time for obviously things that are really important. There's a time for working, there's a time for, resting and spending with your family. And yeah, you've definitely working from home, you've got to really try and find that balance is super critical, I think.
Yeah, cool. Cool. And I guess I talked to Shadow Connor only a couple of days ago, and he sort of said that he got into the business sort of side of things because it was somewhat of a necessity, I guess, when he started out. A person came up and asked him for a kit, and so he bought a kit, and so he'd already done the same thing. Like I guess what I'm sort of asking is, where did it all sort of come about to go? Okay, like this is a need that needs doing. Is there a spot that sort of needs my parts, or is just someone to order more on-road stuff in, like that sort of side of things?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. I'm not too sure where I thought that I could do better or something, or why there would be a demand for what I was doing. I never really thought about it in the beginning. It was more just like, okay, first of all, what can I make with the resources that I have? And we started off, really small. We're actually getting the pretty well-known RC business Berserk Carbon, and obviously you'd know them, and a lot of Aussie guys and a lot of international guys would use them as well. Paul from Berserk was making our stuff right in the beginning, so I was actually drawing it in 2D, sending the files to Paul. He was cutting them, and then he was, and I'd go, or he would ship them to me. I would put them in like RC Maker packaging and then sell them. And we started small with, just basically Tony Sport as our distributor. Tony was awesome. He came on board really early, and he was, pushing the brand, and that definitely helped us grow. But yeah, in the beginning, it was kind of like, I guess I just hoped that I had some kind of design style, and I hoped that eventually I would get these ideas that no one else has done. Because in the beginning, the stuff I was making wasn't revolutionary. It wasn't stuff that no one had seen before. It was carbon fiber bumper braces, carbon fiber charger stands. It was nothing, insane. But yeah, I guess I kind of started with, kind of run of the mill products designed my way. And then, people started to like it, and the brand started to grow. And then, yeah, we just I started to get more resources at my disposal. Probably 6 months after getting Paul to do stuff, Dad actually had a CNC that he built. My dad loves tinkering and doing all that sort of stuff. So he actually built a CNC, and we do actually still use that CNC today as well, which is pretty cool. It's been remodeled since then, but yeah, it's still basically the same. So yeah, we actually got our own CNC, and then that opened up a whole nother thing of manufacturing. So I was, instead of just drawing stuff now, I had to learn how to program the CNC, how to check tolerances, manning the CNC, all that sort of stuff. So once I had that, I kind of opened the ability for me to, play around more, because I could draw something, literally walk out to the CNC, cut it, have it in my hands in 10 minutes and go, okay, bolt it to the car. What can I do better? That sort of stuff. So I could do rapid prototyping then. I wasn't just drawing something, getting it produced, and then getting it back and selling it. It was more of a, I could really keep, rapid prototyping and come up with something that I was really happy with. So that was probably the biggest turning point, where I was able to start making more products. Was just having my own CNC at my disposal to be able to just think of stuff and make it so fast, and have even friends with ideas, and then I could kind of piggyback off that and make it really quickly, send it to them to try out. They go, oh, that's awesome, you should release it. And then it kind of just went from there, and then that's when I could start kind of expanding the product range a bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually an interesting point, because one of the big sort of, I guess, now big names in off-road side of things, and I know you specialize in on-road, and it's been an on-road brand for a while, is X-Ray, I guess. And they actually have that ability, it's similar to yours, but with like obviously much bigger setup, to be able to say, design a product, build that product in their machine, and then go straight onto a track, chuck it into a car, and test it. And I think that's one of the big reasons why, predominantly in off-road, X-Ray virtually came from what realistically was like the 2016 XB2 was a piece of crap. So the current 22, 23 models, which is competitive on the world market. So it's being able to do that, revolutionize products and just be able to say, clean up a product a little bit better, or that sort of things would be a massive advantage in comparison.
Oh, man, 100%. Like, a lot of my business is built off being able to do stuff in-house. We do like all of our CNC works in-house, all of our 3D printings in-house. Like, now I just, if I send something off to get manufactured, I'm always like nervous that it's going to come back the way I want it, and also with testing stuff, like a lot of my top decks and chassis and all that sort of stuff, like, you don't really know if something works until you test it on track. Like, it could look great on the CAD software, the flex dynamics, everything could be great. You put it on the car and it could be a piece of crap, so it's kind of just being able to have that ability to, get ideas and stuff, really quickly do it, bolt it on the car. Does it actually work? And I'm lucky enough to have people all around, the country and world that are happy to test products for me, people that I can rely on and can give me solid feedback. So, within the space of a week, I could have had an idea, made it, sent it to a driver, had it tested, and got feedback all within a week, which a lot of brands just cannot do, without that in-house prototyping. So, yeah, I think X-Ray definitely can put a lot of their success down to what they've done there too.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'm sure that probably is somewhat similar with a couple other brands as well. Just X-Ray is the one I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Being in the factory there. So with it as well, like nowadays, it seems like you have quite a fair few, like almost specialty parts, especially specialty parts, I guess, for the on-road side of things. Do you have like an actual engineering background, or have you sort of just made it up as you go, almost in a way? Because a lot of the parts are quite techy and all that sort of things. It's something that would be hard to sort of just go, okay, well, this is a necessary evil or whatever, and go, all right, I need to decide how to make it now.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I do, and like, well, I don't want to give him a big head, but I got to give my dad a bit of credit here, because he owned a company called BalsaWorks Australia, which they did a lot of laser cutting, and they were basically manufacturing remote control planes out of balsa wood. And Dad did that for several years. And growing up as a kid, your dad's your hero, and you want to do everything that he's doing. So I just naturally kind of started gravitating towards that. I was watching over his shoulder when he's designing things on CAD, and he only does 2D, not 3D, which we obviously do these days. But even that was like the stepping stone into making my own products. So without kind of that, being Dad able to help me and stuff like that, you never know. Nothing may have even eventuated. So it was thanks to that, and I've just generally been engineering minded. I studied physics in high school and stuff. Didn't really go further with engineering just due to maths. I was okay at maths, but I was never a fan of it. And my mates who did engineering are like, if you don't want to do maths, definitely don't do engineering. So I was like, oh crap, okay, I won't do that. So yeah, you're young then, and you just want to kind of, I don't know, take the easy path. So yeah, I didn't go into that. And I guess, honestly, mechanical engineering probably would have been the absolutely perfect field for me if I was to, go back and study at uni again. And I probably would have just sucked it up with the maths and just done it. But yeah, anyway, it worked out great. So yeah, I think that's definitely had a massive impact. And yeah, that's been where I've been able to kind of start from a bit of a base and then kind of just find my way as I go. I've run into stuff with some of my products that back in the day I was designing in 2D, which like it took so much more time because I was only working in 2D, not 3D, And then when I learned 3D, it just opened yeah, I can't even explain how many things it opened, especially with 3D printing and stuff these days. It just made so many more products possible. And I'm like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. So yeah, I guess it's just been like an evolution and a development of my skills from about, 7 years ago when I first started everything from back then being able to, just draw really basic stuff, 2D and CAD to now, 3D modeling and all that sort of, full blown stuff. So.
Yeah, sweet. And we are in a bit of an age, I guess, of 3D printing as well. Like as you mentioned before, actually before we came on stream, can you hit the 3D printers going? Like, do you pretty much do, say, if you want to say a carbon fiber shock tower, would you say do a 3D print using a 3D printer just to make sure everything sort of lines up and everything before you go into?
It's actually really funny you say that because I've got some stuff right here that I can show you. So this is some new products we're working on for the BD12. And yeah, pretty much we will always 3D print. We've got some really nice 3D printers that do an amazing job, as you can hopefully see in that. So this is a part that today, actually, well, right here, in fact, we've manufactured out of carbon. So there's the actual finished product in carbon there. And that's the one that we got rapid prototyped on the 3D printer. So yeah, pretty much now that we have the caliber of 3D printers that we do, we can pretty much, print out the part that we want to make out of carbon fiber because it's a lot easier to prototype something on the 3D printer than it is on the CNC. So CNC, you got, material setup, material hold down, programming all the tool paths. Whereas when you've got 3D print, you're literally importing the body, slicing it with the 3D printing software and just pressing print. It's just, takes us, sixth of the time to do. So yeah, we pretty much check the fitment and everything first on the 3D printers, like obviously line everything up, making sure, all the holes are fitting, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the 3D printing has definitely been a massive step forward for the business just to be able to check things before going into full production. So yeah, it's been huge.
Yeah, sweet. A couple of quick comments we've had. So Lewis Solos said, "Mustache is good, but nothing on Ben Sterling." I'm not sure if he's referring to you or me. I think we've got a fairly equal mustache going on concerning. It wasn't pre-planned, I swear. Yeah, Ben Sterling, surely that's like got to be a couple of months worth of
yeah, no,
that's scary.
I'm not up to that.
Yeah, that was a caterpillar, man. And Jordan Hunting, he's said, "What CAD do you use?"
What CAD? Yeah, so for 3D, we use, for everything now, to be honest, we use Fusion 360. It's an Autodesk product, subscription based. It's really good. I taught myself pretty much completely how to use it. Nick, my employee, helped out a bit as well because he had prior knowledge and stuff of it too. So yeah, between him and David and a couple other guys, I kind of learned it myself from scratch. And to be honest, now that I've learned it, if you just take like a week, 2 weeks out of your time, get on YouTube, watch some tutorials, like it's not that hard as I kind of made it out to be for so many years. I spent 3 years working or maybe even 4 years working in 2D, struggling to line things up because I was obviously, I didn't have that third dimension. And then I literally took 2 weeks to learn Fusion 360 and my whole world changed. So now I can, draw up anything in 3D. But yeah, Fusion 360, Jordan, I'm not sure if you use it already. I know you do engineering. But yeah, it's an amazing program and there's a lot of stuff online about it. So yeah, if you want to get into, drawing for either 3D printing or for CNC for anyone out there, yeah, check out Fusion 360. It's not the cheapest, but it's a really good platform to do everything. So
yeah, brilliant. No, I've used a couple myself, and I've always struggled. And that's just because I just haven't put the time and persistence in it.
Yeah, man, it's the time and it's doing stuff. You can watch as many tutorials as you want, but until you actually get hands on and start doing it yourself, you don't really grasp it 100% because problem with them is there's a lot of extra functions that you won't use. You know, you'll see all these like mega menus and you're like, oh geez, I don't even know what quarter of these things are, you know. But the truth is you only actually I probably use, you know, 10% of what Fusion's actually capable of, you know, in terms of, you know, the, you know, flex testing and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we only kind of scratch the surface. So yeah, it can be intimidating, but if you kind of stick to it, then yeah, you can grasp it fairly fast.
Yeah, brilliant. I just don't have a persistence on it, but sooner or later I'll need to. I think.
Yeah,
it's the coming of age.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely has made things a lot easier. Like I used to work in a sort of an IT style industry. We used to work with virtual reality style things, and you know, they still had like 3D drawings, like literally like hand drawn drawing. You know, when I was early on and stuff like that. Like, yeah, some crazy stuff. But yeah, luckily we're out of that age, so it's definitely makes it a lot easier with CAD and that sort of side of things. You mentioned obviously before you have a couple of work, or you have at least another worker. How many workers do you have sort of working within RC Maker to start off with?
Yeah, in terms of hands-on employees, just Nick. So Nick started about a year ago, and he's been like I can't even explain how, you know, much more we've been able to achieve having Nick here. You know, he's in charge of pretty much like any parts that we have. He's assembling things. He's in packing, stocking shelves, and also packing orders as well. And that's that's taken so much stress off me. Just now I can kind of work on designing more and manufacturing more. So obviously, as our product range grows, as our product range grows, things go out of stock more often. So I've got to restock more often, and that kind of takes up time. And then you don't have as much time for designing new stuff. So it's kind of like a knock-on effect. And I dare say relatively soon it could be time for another employee, because yeah, I need to kind of free up my time more so I can work on stuff I want to in terms of designing and stuff, because obviously, as everyone knows, it's very time consuming, and also CNC work is extremely time consuming. So yeah, it's kind of tough, but honestly, having Nick's been incredible, and it will be great to, you know, in the future, it'll be great to expand and keep going. And yeah, just getting Nick definitely made me realize how much more is possible, you know, just from manpower. Like, there's only so many hours in a day, and you know, I just wasn't getting done what I wanted to get done. I still don't. You know, I could go into a day with 10 things on a list, and I'll get 3 of them done. You know, they'll just take so much longer than you expect. So yeah, I think having manpower would definitely help us grow more. So yeah, in the future, it'll be amazing to bring on some more people. But yeah, Nick's hands-on. My mum does quite a lot of work as well. She's retired now, so she's helps me packing stuff as well. She's probably packed the HRP Pros. I think she's packed about 1,500 packs of them. So sorry, mum. They got 4 screws and 2 mounts in each one. And then yeah, stuff like that. Nick often refers to things as a mum job. So if there's something very repetitive and boring, we go, oh, that's for mum. So yeah, she loves it. She sits on the couch and, you know, and ticks away doing it. And yeah, we've got Tony, who helps out with a bit of our IT stuff as well. And yeah, also Felix, who does a little bit of our marketing, who's, you might know, they're not sure if you know Felix, he's running the Mayako buggy. Actually, he's down in Sydney now, moved over from France. So he's helping out a bit with our marketing and stuff, just trying to free up my time, because that's the biggest, you know, bottleneck, I guess, at the moment, is just, you know, I've got so many tasks I need to do and just not enough time to do them. So kind of trying to spread out a little bit more and learn to delegate, and not try and, you know, be a control freak and do everything myself. But obviously, growing your own business, it's hard to kind of let go of things that, you know, other people can do. You don't have to do everything. So I guess a big part of, growing is definitely just relinquishing responsibility for stuff, handing it over to someone else and freeing up your time, you know, just trusting them that they're going to do the job that you want, which, you know, Nick does incredibly. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That sounds like a really good couple of hands there. Talking about good hands and all that sort of side of things, what's, like, you know, obviously you have a couple of drivers driving for RC Maker. You know, what sort of names do we have, first of all, in the on-road scene? Like, that's just like...
Oh, geez, yeah, we have a lot of guys. I mean, some are obviously driving AWESOMATRIX and stuff, but there's also a lot of guys, you know, that we have on the team driving other brands. We've got massive names like, you know, Mark Reinhardt, Ronald Volker, Nicholas Lee, Akio Sabu. All those guys are running the products, which are like, you know, top 5 in the world kind of guys, which is just incredible. And, a lot of a lot of Aussie guys. We got like Anthony Coretti, Simon Nicholson, yeah, heaps of those other guys. And they're Yokomo drivers, just running our RC Maker parts on their Yokomo cars. And yeah, there's heaps around the world as well. We've just got guys like Lex Tyler and stuff in the US. And yeah, there's heaps of guys scattered around. That's really good because it means we can get a lot of feedback on a lot of different types of surfaces and stuff like that. So having guys that you can send stuff and trust and know are going to give you solid, fast feedback is definitely really helpful in terms of making parts and getting them released as fast as we can. So
yeah, exactly. No, definitely would make things easier. And obviously off-road side, so a side that I sort of know a fair bit better. What big names do you specify in, say, Australia, and then also worldwide? Do you have a bit of a following for off-road and say the worldwide scene as well?
To be honest, off-road, I haven't dabbled in it much. There is stuff, but I don't have like specific off-road drivers as such. There's guys that do both on and off-road, and they might run a couple of our bits or whatever in off-road or use some of our tools in off-road, but there's no one actually specifically that we sponsor purely for off-road. And that's basically just because 99% of our product range is on-road stuff. I'd love to get into off-road, and that's something that eventually I would like to do, but I'm the kind of person that won't do something unless I'm 100% confident that I can do a good enough job to live up to the brand name and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like I don't have enough knowledge to dive head first into the off-road market in terms of more like option parts and stuff for cars. I don't know 100% what they need and that sort of stuff, which and the perfect employer could definitely change that as well. Somebody as not like knowledgeable like yourself in off-road that has a really good understanding of everything and also can test parts as well. So yeah, down the track, that would be something I would love to do. But yeah, for now, it's pretty much purely on-road based.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, obviously, Chargers would be a great starting place for you. It's nice and high grip.
Definitely, yeah.
Not too dissimilar from
it looks pretty tempting
racing.
to get out there, I tell you. I've been offered a few four-wheel drive buggies since I moved to the Gold Coast, and I tell you what, it's pretty tempting. So yeah, one day I'll have to get out there and have a steer.
Yeah, no, it is awesome fun. It's probably my favourite club track in Australia nowadays. They just changed the layout and all that sort of things. They got a bigger.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Definitely, we can get you a car for that one if you want, mate. Don't worry.
All right, sweet.
But yeah, we've got a couple more comments. Fantastic brand, fully deserves the success. RC Simo said the Carbon Wizard.
Thanks,
and I'm gonna really destroy this name, but La True RC. I'm
yeah, Stefan. Yeah, he's one. Yeah, Stefan's from France.
Beautiful. For sure. Best carbon spare parts. So yeah, it's obviously
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Got a massive following worldwide, which is great. And being able to expand not just throughout Australia, to the actual world scene, must be a massive blessing.
Yeah, man, my distributors have helped heaps with that as well. Like especially, Tony Sport, Meebo Sport, Monaco RC, Randy from One Up, like all those guys, plus lots more. There's about 15 global distributors now, so that's been the biggest help, just getting the products into people's hands that would never, if I had a little hobby shop down the road not selling online, you'd never get anywhere. So yeah, having the internet and everyone as connected as we are now has definitely allowed that. So yeah, really thankful for that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we've just clicked over the 30-minute mark, or probably about halfway through, roughly. I'm sure we could probably talk all night. We'll click over to recent events.
Sure.
So you've had a fair bit of a break from actually racing side of things. You've been sort of focusing more, I guess, on the RC Maker sort of side of things.
Yeah.
Was that just to sort of, I guess, rejuvenate, or were you sort of just properly looking at sort of retiring from the racing and just doing a bit of fun events here and there? Or what was your sort of
it was honestly, it was mainly instigated by the whole COVID thing. In Melbourne, we copped it really, really bad. We couldn't even go to racetracks and race. Like we weren't even allowed to. So yeah, racing stopped for like a year. It was a blur those 3 years. I can't even remember what happened. But yeah, racing stopped pretty much, and everything ground to a halt. And there was kind of no, what would you say, future in terms of local, RC, and we didn't know what was going to happen. So yeah, I kind of just didn't really have any motivation to race. And that was a real growing period for RC Maker as well. As much as we couldn't race there was still a lot of countries that were, free to do what they wanted. And yeah, we actually, the business grew massively through COVID as well, which was unbelievable, to be honest. Going into it, basically we thought, okay, well, these are going to be a write-off, but I just wouldn't accept that, I guess you could say. And I thought, it's an opportunity to just keep growing, just keep, developing parts and working with people outside of, Victoria and stuff and overseas that can test. And, just keep up with everything as much as we can. And it turned out being a massive growth opportunity. And yeah, the business grew heaps through COVID. So yeah, it's just, I guess I just decided that, because I couldn't do anything with my personal racing, that I may as well put, all of my energy and effort into the business. And then when everything kind of subsided and became good again, I guess it took me a while to kind of, what was the word? Find an event or something that was like, yes, I'm, really keen to do this again. And TITC has always been my, my yearly international race. Just because there's so many guys there from all around the world. I can see, half of my distributors are there. All the top guys, a lot of my mates and a lot of Aussies come over as well. And I got a lot of friends in Thailand too. So, and obviously my partner's from there, so her family's there. And it just makes sense to go back every year. So when that popped up again, no restrictions, we were like, okay, this is going to be the one back. So yeah, it was a three year break, TITC 2020 to TITC 2023. And yeah, the only time I drove a car between that period was actually about a month before I went to TITC at Brendale. So yeah, it was a pretty big break.
Yeah, that's a big break, that's for sure. How did you feel coming back into it? Obviously, you said you had a bit of a run at Brendale. Like, how was your first run back on track? Like,
yeah, there weren't many guys watching, which is probably a good thing. I think Dawny was there, David was there, a few other guys, Terry and stuff, and Luke. But yeah, it was a bit sketchy at the start, not gonna lie. Yeah, it was more just the braking and the timing and stuff. I kind of still knew where I wanted to go, but I couldn't quite do it for a while. And the consistency as well, just getting, I guess it's like you feel really aggressive like after you haven't driven for ages. And then it's kind of just learning to, like slow is fast, obviously. It's kind of like learning to like slow down, smooth out, and yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. So for the first 3 packs, I felt like I was just driving, way too aggressively. And I was so nervous. Like I was shaking like a leaf. Like I couldn't believe it. It's like just I don't know if it was adrenaline or what it was. I just felt like I wasn't almost connected. Like normally I have this like second nature connected feeling to the car when you're driving, you feel in control, but I kind of felt like the car was driving me for a while. So yeah, it took me a while to, just breathe and kind of calm down. And then I started driving normally again. So, and by the end of the day, it was totally back to second nature. Could run off laps within a couple of tenths of each other every lap. And I was like getting back in the groove and I was like, okay, that's all good. We've still got it. So it was nice to know that I could still drive after the break.
Exactly. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, you wanted it, your first race back into racing to be a pretty big event, that sort of thing. You mentioned that, your partner and stuff comes from Thailand. And so obviously it sounds like a bit of a no-brainer to go over there and do that as your first big race. But massively stacked field, as you said. It almost seems like, I'm sure there's probably always big drivers that go there, but did it almost seem like a bigger than usual event with everyone coming together for the first year back of TITC, or was it roughly about the same as normal? What was your thoughts on the event?
Yeah, I think the event was absolutely awesome. Like it always is. There's things surrounding it which can, taint it a little bit. Sometimes there's usually, the typical tire dramas and the this and the that you get of an event of such scale, But going there, it's always dry. I think I've been to like 9 events in Thailand and there's never been a drop of rain at a single one of them. So it's like, okay, we're pretty guaranteed we're going to get some racing. The atmosphere is incredible and the track's crazy. It's always hard to keep up with, but we're like a sucker for punishment. We keep going back. It's very rewarding, put it that way. A lot of the event, I struggled in practice. I struggled to kind of just, I don't know if it was me, a bit of the car, I just kind of struggled to get the feeling. And then I had moments of brilliant, where it was great. And then it all kind of started coming together near the end where the track kind of went back to how it was in practice. And I got a 6 for the round. which was like, considering the drivers, you know, to get a 6 for the round, you've got a couple of world champions behind you, kind of thing. So yeah, I think I was within like 4 seconds of Bruno over the 5 minutes. So for me, that was like, you know, that was a great feeling to get back there, and kind of, yeah, where I used to be, I guess, on a good run as well. So yeah, it's just a cool event, and the vibes are good. And you know, being able to hang out with the whole AWESOMATRIX team, you got Max and Mark, and you know, all those guys over from Germany, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just, if I had to choose an event to go to, like other than say ETS or something, which is ages away in Europe, TITC is definitely my first choice. So
yeah, and looking at the photos now, just on my phone, it's probably one of the most professional looking like tracks that you'll, I guess, almost see in the on-road scene.
Yeah,
I like it. The on-road scene obviously is laid out a lot better than what we see in off-road generally, because it's sort of a lot more permanent. But nonetheless, like that, the track looks absolutely stunning. It reminds me a lot of the old Tamiya factory circuit over in the US or California, I think it was.
Yeah. The tires don't muck around. I guess labor's quite cheap over there, so they're able to get stuff done the way they want it and take the time to be able to do it properly. So yeah, when you rock up to the track, it's just like, it's an RC playground. You know, it's kind of like Hootie Arena. I mean, Hootie Arena obviously have their stuff there too, but yeah, it's just so perfectly laid out. You got all the massive banners. Like, these banners are 10 meters long by 5 meters high. Like, they're absolutely giant. And yeah, they got all the hobby shops around the track. You got aircon pit rooms, and yeah, it's just a sick facility. Yeah, it's definitely one of the spectacles in RC. And if you ever get the chance to go check it out, then yeah, it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, sure. No, it looks incredible. Obviously, you said you had a qualifying run of about 6th, and once again, as you mentioned, that you know, that's right in the mix of world champions, current and past, that sort of side of things. We had, you know, Bruno there. I think you had Ronald Volkner and us.
Yeah, all those guys. Yep.
As I said, a stacked field. Where'd you end up qualifying overall and finishing overall?
So it was 14th qualifying wise. So 6 definitely bumped me up, because I was just kind of, the track changed a lot for qualifying for some reason. Like, it was either more sunny or it was really windy on the qualifying days, and the grip just like disappeared, which you would think, being an Aussie, I'd know low grip, but I kind of just struggled to get the grip back that I had in practice, because towards the end of practice I had pretty good pace. I seeded in the A group, so I was in the top 10 with the big guys, and yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, just kind of wasn't feeling on it for the first couple of qualies. And then for Q4, it was kind of like, the track was like, obviously it was later, and it was later in the day as well, and the track was more gripped up. And I made a few changes that I thought, you know, would really work, and kind of just, at the start of qualifying, I was kind of like, oh, don't change anything, you know, because you've been good through practice, you had a good feeling, and now you're going to go chase the track, and then it's going to change, and you're going to, you know, head explosion. But yeah, I kind of just trusted my gut on those changes, which, you know, I had a fairly good feeling would work well, and they worked really well. I got a really nice, you know, set of tires that didn't do anything funny. They were perfectly hooked up. And yeah, I could just, for the first time, like during the racing, I could, you know, really, I felt the car was basically perfect. There was nothing really it needed, and I had a really clean run. And yeah, it was good to just lay that down, and, you know, yeah, I didn't really have any expectations going to the event. I knew it was probably too much to ask to make the A main. I knew, you know, if I had a really lucky run, maybe I could have. You know, you get out what you put in, you know, and I hadn't put in anything really. So, you know, going there with basically next to no practice in the last couple of years, when the top guys have been racing every second weekend, you know, I can't exactly expect much. So to do that was like, okay, awesome. Like, you know, it's just felt good to be back in the mix again, I guess, and not to prove anything, more to myself than anything, that, you know, I can still, you know, mix it with them on a good day, you know. So,
yeah, no, for sure. Whether you already mentioned it was dry, like as you said, you've been there to, I think you said 9 events. It hasn't rained for one of them. What was the actual like temperature wise? Like, was it hot? You know?
Yeah, honestly, this year, I don't know if it was because I'm climatized to the Gold Coast weather now or whatever, but it actually wasn't that humid. It's normally extremely humid and pretty hot. I'd say around the 32 to 34 kind of degrees temperature. Humidity wise, normally it's through the roof, and that's kind of what kills you more than anything, is, you know, being a Gold Coaster, that yeah, the humidity can get pretty crazy. And leaving the Gold Coast, I thought that, you know, it was going to ramp up, but to my surprise, it was actually nowhere near as humid as the Gold Coast this time. So yeah, and apparently locals said the same thing, that it was, you know, for some reason their winter went longer this year and it wasn't as humid. So yeah, normally it's really hot, really humid, and that's why a lot of people get aircon rooms, because yeah, it can, spending a whole day at the track in the humidity and heat, I mean, you'd know yourself, in off-road and stuff, like it can really take it out of you. And because we go for like 3 or 4 days practice and then a couple of days racing, you're there for a week, you know, sustaining those kind of temps. It's it can get pretty tiring. So
yeah, sure. End up with a headache at the end of the day, and realize
exactly,
you haven't drunk a single ounce of water or something like
eaten,
that. You're like, oh man, my head is
that.
just pounding. Yeah, no, it's awful as well. You're just like, man, why is my head so sore? Oh wait, I haven't done anything towards my body today.
Yeah, it's shocking.
I know. Well, I literally only just came back from Bali about 3 weeks ago, and the humidity and heat was just out of control, and every day.
Yeah.
So it's definitely know the feeling. But
definitely.
yeah, so TITC, ended up in, I guess, the B main. Obviously, had a good run. Against,
it was. I didn't answer your question. It was 14th in, so 14th qualifier, and then I finished 12th, so second behind Victor, and then in front of Nicholas. Yeah.
Yep.
So they had a pretty good run in the finals.
Was it double A main or triple? Sorry, double.
Actually, this year it was incredible. We got triple B mains this year, which I don't think they've ever done, but they did also reduce it to 4 qualifiers. So personally, I would probably prefer a 5th qualifier, because then there's like more chance, I guess, you have to make the main, because everyone in the B main are kind of, a lot of them are good enough for the A main. They just didn't get it together for whatever reason, you know. So yeah, most of the B main guys are just there for a bit of fun kind of thing in the finals. But yeah, it was cool to have 3. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it would have been cool to have a 5th, like to go back to the 5th qualifier and then just have 2 Bs, because everyone's kind of like, the end of the weekend, no one really cares about getting an extra final in the lower finals, I guess. For me personally, anyway. But yeah, it was cool to do something different, and it was, you know, cool to race more, because in RC, I feel like, especially since I come back, I actually enjoy the racing part of it more. I used to be like, let's just say before the break kind of thing, I was more of a, you know, try and qualify as best you can and just deal with the finals and just try and stay there. You know what I mean? Like, or you know, get to the front. Whereas now I feel more, you know, prepared, or, you know, happy to battle it out in the finals kind of thing. Just for, maybe that's just because I'm, you know, just trying to enjoy it more. And I feel like when you do cool passes and stuff, like that's where you really get a kick out of it. So yeah, like in the second B main at TITC, I managed to get from 4th to the front by the end with some cool passes, and like I haven't felt that excited about, you know, a final in, I don't even know how long, ever maybe, you know, just because I was just pumped from that. So yeah, it was a really cool feeling to be able to do that. And yeah, I just feel like I just enjoy the actual racing part of things. So yeah, I think something like a reedy race format or something like that is really cool, because it just gets more people racing, and that's also better for spectators and stuff too. So yeah, I think, as well as I would have loved a 5th qualifier, I can also see why they want to put more racing in front of the spectators. And, you know, on finals day at TITC, you get a massive crowd around the track watching, and all the oohs and the ahs, and, you know, everyone clapping and cheering, and that just brings an amazing atmosphere you don't really get anywhere else. So yeah, definitely the racing side of things there is really fun. So
yeah, and following on from TITC, actually came back to Australia and did another event up at Brendale, so you got a little bit of practice there, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
The Scotty Ernst event, which was AOC, Asian On-Road Blues. You know, probably not quite as stacked as Teal, but you know, still a lot of big names, especially big Australian names. You had a really good run at that. Tell us about your weekend up at Brendale on the Scotty Ernst.
Yeah, it was, of course, I just had a 3-year break and then came back and did 2 events in a row. Went into the deep end. It's funny because in my whole RC racing career, I've never done 2 events back to back, weekend to weekend. I've done club races, but never events. So yeah, to do that after the 3-year break was a little bit funky, but it's kind of cool pulling the car out of the bag from one weekend, not wrenching on it at all, and just chucking it on another track. So yeah, that was back at like we used to do in the club racing days. So yeah, it was really awesome. Like Mark actually flew back with us, and another guy, Max, as well. Not Max Muckler, but another Max, his mate. And yeah, we showed them around the Goldie for a few days, which was awesome. Had some awesome food and stuff, and then we headed up to Brendale on the Thursday morning for the start of the event. And yeah, honestly, the cars were working amazing. We literally took them out of the bag, like not even cleaned from the end of the finals in Thailand, and just slapped them on the track for practice with basically zero changes. Just bolted the control tires on, which were sweep ones, but different ones. And yeah, the cars worked amazing straight away. So it was like really nice because it made things a bit easier rather than chasing your tail all weekend looking for setup. We were kind of just like we were near enough, straight off the mark. So Mark and I both had good pace. And yeah, throughout practice, things got a little bit difficult for qualifying. Like I don't know why the qualifying when we started using the race tires, the car got a little bit hard to drive and edgy. So yeah, didn't have the best running quali, but yeah, the first one wasn't great, but I managed to TQ the second and the third one. Mark had a few issues and stuff, so I'm sure Mark would have beat one in every single one if he didn't. But I was close at some point, so that's good to know. But yeah, so qualified second and then tried to hold on there, but just didn't quite have enough in the finals and came home with third. I was the first lap of the A3. I felt really good, like the car felt incredible, and if I had have won that, I would have got second overall. And then, yeah, just coming after through a place on the track that I would never expect to traction roll. My car just flipped out of nowhere. And yeah, I had to basically, because my second final was a bit of a binner, I kind of had to, I needed another result, obviously, because it's best 2 out of 3. So yeah, I kind of just battled I kind of bided my time at the start with a few of the guys down the back and just tried to get through cleanly, and then just kind of hammered down and somehow got back to third place, just kind of did a few cool passes and then, kind of dodged a few accidents and stuff and somehow ended up in P3. So yeah, I had a second and a third and that was enough for third overall. So yeah, overall, it was a really good weekend and Scotty always puts on a great show. And as you know, the Brendel track, the Brendel track is amazing. So yeah, it was a really good weekend and cool to hang out with Mark as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great weekend, and yeah, as you mentioned, it's great to always run under Scotty Owens and that sort of side of things. And yeah, I actually remember that race where you were making your way back through the pack, and I'm pretty sure me and a couple of guys we were right at the back, or the start of the back straight, and we were
okay.
Maybe a bevy or two in hand, and just enjoying seeing you come through the the actual pack, and yeah, it was awesome to watch. Ben Sterling's actually just said, drive my e-buggy at ABC's, the Asian Buggy Championship. So you got a car to drive for that as well.
Yeah, Ben's offered me that a lot, and I probably should take him up on it sometime soon. Because he keeps giving me every opportunity to get out there, and I probably should accept at some point. So I know the problem is I know I'll be hooked once I go out and drive one. So it's like I got enough on my plate already, let alone wanting an e-buggy and then 1/10 off road for charges. And
yeah, man, man, Ben Sterling's cars lately have me absolutely hooked up as well. So I'd be taking that opportunity.
Yeah, his stuff's always dialed. I don't know how he keeps his cars looking so brand new. Like I drove an off-road car once and I felt like I needed to put it in the bin after the run. It was so dirty, whereas his stuff looks pristine all the time. So yeah, I don't know how he does it. A lot of wrenching.
Yeah, way too much time in his hands, man. Then again, saying that, I probably do the same thing. I race a car, and I chuck it in the bag, and I don't see it for another like 6 days until we come back to racing, and it's about the same color as most of the time. Ben's, obviously putting way too much time into his cleaning, so that's a bit.
He's a
couple other comments. I messed his name up once again. Lalatro asked he said, when do you make a car?
It's actually, I can't say too much, but let's just say it's a thought. It's always been a dream for a long time. That was kind of like the pinnacle to me, was to have my own car. And, recent stuff's happened, obviously, with, all my 3D drawing and stuff now, my 3D printing capabilities, that it is possible. I wouldn't say it's going to happen very soon, but let's just say the wheels are in motion, and I definitely want it to come to fruition. I have ideas for it, and stuff like that, which are, written down and maybe very lightly drafted. But yeah, keep your eyes out in the next couple of years, because it might be a possibility. I'll try my best, put it that way, because it's definitely been something I want to do. To have my own car brand would be, epic. So yeah. it's
Yeah,
a plan
sweet.
in
All
motion.
right. Awesome. All right. Before that announcement gets made, I expect you to jump on live stream with me, or we'll discuss it on there before it even goes live. All right. I'll be waiting for that in a couple of years' time. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Sweet.
And Tony Cody, he said it's like riding a bike and returning to racing after a couple of years off.
Yeah.
So
he knows how it is. Yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
you just once you get the feel for it again, it kind of just the muscle memory comes back and you just kind of back. So yeah, I felt like I hadn't left after TITC. It was like, yeah, this feels like I hadn't had a break at all. I was fully at what I would consider my full pace, my full potential kind of thing driving wise. So yeah.
No, I've had a couple of breaks throughout my racing career, I guess you could say. And I actually sometimes have felt like after a bit of a break, you come back with a little more, I guess rejuvenation when it comes to your mechanical side. That's what I've found at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Look at something from a different perspective and go, hey, like, this could work out a little bit better. I came back this time at the racing with, much more mechanically minded, I would say. And,
okay.
It seems to have helped my, setup side probably more than my driving side. My driving side's still pretty trash. But, like, nonetheless, it's definitely I think
it's like,
if anything,
it's like you break bad habits or something like that. Like you get bad habits racing week in, week in, you can't week out, you kind of end up doing the same things, and you kind of it's like the definition of stupidity is just doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you want to get to the next level, you've got to start doing stuff differently, and whether that's your mindset or that's your wrenching, your setup, what it is, it's kind of like, I think that's why a lot of people do actually have a break and come back actually better or faster than before, or better driving. Because you just kind of, when you're on the wheel and on the wrenches all the time, you can kind of get into a bit of a tunnel where you're not really trying different stuff. You just kind of just slaving away kind of thing. So yeah, I think it is good to have a little bit of a break, and especially if you've been doing club races flat out and you've kind of lost your passion a little bit, and you're just doing it because you're doing it or something like that. I think it's good to have a month off or something, just like get that drive and motivation back again, hit it again, and you'll just have a way better time. So yeah, I think a little break can be healthy for some people.
Yeah. Stephen Cornell said, get off the camera and get to the gym.
Yeah, I'm too busy these days. I used to gym, probably 6 days a week. And more recently, it's gone down to 1, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. So it's just finding the time to get away, because it just kind of, the whole day kind of strings together like, well, normally when I'm not going to gym. And then if I go to gym, it means something doesn't get done. It has a domino effect, like I'm late, or, and I'll end up having to run my machines into the night. Sometimes I'm cutting until 9 o'clock, even though I'm upstairs, all the machines are still going downstairs. So it's not as easy as it once was to just, pop to the gym kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully one day I'll get a bit more time back and I can do it. But yeah, for now it's just little scrawny Ryan again.
Yeah, we've seen far too many Facebook photos with the shirt off, I think.
Yeah. You can blame my missus for that one.
Yeah, no, I see that she posted it. It's similar to my partner. I personally wouldn't post a single photo of myself if it was up to me, but yeah, she's all over it.
I never post anything on anything anyway. I just I'm always just doing what I do when I'm away. But yeah, I got paparazzi following me, so it's a tough life of an Instagram boyfriend.
All right, and Scott Ravel, he said, in your opinion, what's the best touring car body at the time? So I'm guessing it's probably different between classes as well. So what do you believe the best modified body is at the moment, or do you think it's sort of standard across?
So you mean the body shape, not design?
Just says body shell. So
we'll go for both. So, but honestly, like in terms of the one that ruled the longest, the Protoform LTCR was probably the longest serving body, and that was probably the last body before let's call it the recent body boom, where every man and his dog's kind of making new bodies every second week now. It's kind of hard to keep up. So yeah, I'll say the new one would have to be the Twister. I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer now, is to go to the track with the Twister. You can't really go too wrong. In modified, at least. In stock classes, the Wolverine is probably still at the top. And yeah, people are, a lot of guys are trying to knock it off in terms of knock it off the top. Not well, some people are trying to literally knock it off too, but they're trying to knock it off being the fastest one. And yeah, no one's really seemed to be able to manage yet. So I guess we'll see at ETS. ETS I think's not this weekend, the weekend after, and we'll see what the top dogs are using again. But yeah, so far I've really liked driving the Twister. I'd used it at TITC and AOC, and it felt really nice and balanced. And I used that since I came back, so I didn't know any different, which is probably a good thing. Because when I first tested the first evolution of bodies, which is the DBX, which most probably know from Zoo Racing, that was the first. Let's just say the first, like the instigator of all the new bodies from, you know, the Type S. So there's the Type S was the latest from Protoform, and then the DBX. And yeah, when I tried the DBX the first time, I absolutely hated it. Like everyone online was going nuts about this body, and I tried it compared to the Type S, and I'm like, I was like 0.3 faster a lap with the Type S, and I just hated the way the DBX drove. And I don't know, I got into a bit of a habit like that, and I was using weird bodies compared to everyone all the time. And now that I've come back with no different knowledge, and I've just gone straight into this new era kind of thing, I don't know any different, and it feels great. So it was probably just me getting in my own head maybe about this new generation of bodies. But yeah, the Twister felt really good, and the Wolverine for stock classes is pretty much a no-brainer as well. So, but yeah, the new bodies coming out, you know, every couple of weeks now. And the lens body from Nicola Moroni, we're going to be selling that very soon as well. So that'll be another one to try. But yeah, it's good. It's good to see evolution in the industry, and you know, lots of guys getting in, and lots of options. And yeah, pushing everything forward, because the lap times at TITC and stuff, you know, I think we're about a second faster than we were the last time we used this layout, you know, in modified. So that's just showing you how much, you know, everything's changed. I think we were doing like, first year I went on this layout, we were doing 15.2s, and I think Bruno and Akio did like 14.1 maybe this time. So as you can see, like it's not just the body, it's obviously electronics and everything, but everything's getting faster to a point where now it's like we are just so at the top. I don't even see, you know, getting those last little bits now is just so difficult. Because yeah, it's just not much. I feel like now, you know, you can't just keep going exponentially faster. There's going to be some point where it plateaus, and I think now we've kind of hit that point where you're going to have to find something really, really special to, you know, to get to that next level in terms of a body, especially. So yeah, long answer to your question, but yeah, I think the Twister and Wolverine currently are the two rulers. So
yes, when I think Lee Grace jumped on and said the Wolverine's got great on big tracks, and he runs their DBX on the tight tracks.
Okay, so, cool. Yeah, the DBX is like pretty nosy, and yeah, the Wolverine's really good for flowing tracks. So yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, we've been running now for about an hour. So this next 15 minutes we'll start to wrap things up and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, obviously two massive events you came back to racing in. Oh, Scotty Ernst has actually jumped on and having a chat as well.
Oh man, I am honoured. Hey, Scotty.
Yeah, obviously it's a couple of massive races for return back to and that sort of side of things. So you know, obviously having a good run, really good run, obviously at AOC, and obviously a good entry run to, you know, TITC. Are you looking at like doing more running over the next sort of few weeks, months, and got other events sort of lined up you want to run at?
Oh, man, I'd love to say I do, but I honestly just take things week by week now. It just depends on, you know, how busy everything is and how much new stuff I'm working on, and it's just between, you know, I've obviously got another kid on the way too, so middle of August is the due date, and I'm sure that, you know, for the few months after that, there's going to be no hope of getting anywhere. So yeah, it's just, I guess it's not easy to know now. It's just kind of like take it as it comes. It would be cool to get to the nationals at the end of this year. That would, honestly, that's probably going to be my next event if there is one. And yeah, just I can't, as much as I still love it, I just can't really commit to the events as much as before, because, you know, weekends are family time, and, you know, taking time off for events, you know, you're obviously taking away from family, not from the business. So yeah, if it was in business time, it might be a little bit easier to justify, but yeah, you got to obviously, as I said before, keep that work family balance and everything. And yeah, so it does make it a bit trickier to get to events these days. But, you know, when my car comes to fruition, then there may be a little bit of extra motivation to get back out there. But yeah, so we'll take it as it comes and just see. But yeah, fingers crossed, maybe nationals this year would be the next one. So no time soon. In terms of events, in terms of practice, there's every chance that in the next couple of months we'll get a practice day or something in just to scratch the itch as such.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have much FOMO of Newcastle? Oh, so yeah, Newcastle, New South Wales state titles this past weekend. Did you watch much of that action?
I did catch quite a bit of it actually. I was actually in Byron on a bit of a weekend holiday for Pookie's birthday, and yeah, I was trying to tune in as much as I could to a bit of the action. But yeah, it was pretty epic. As always, the conditions looked really tricky on both Saturday and Sunday. It looked Friday. For some reason, Friday is always like a cruisy day, and then I don't know if it's just because it's practice, but the track always does weird stuff on, you know, Saturday and Sunday, and you know, you saw people putting on new tires and barely could drive their cars, and just, you know, and then on Friday they were amazing, and it's so weird how the track changes and the temperatures and stuff as well. Like the guys were saying, it was, you know, super cold on Saturday and Sunday morning, which just made it so hard to, you know, get grip. So yeah, it looked like a bit of a struggle. I don't know if I would have wanted to have to paddle that, to be honest. I've had plenty of you know, times you've been and just, yeah, it's just kind of a struggle in the cold weather and everything. I much prefer to race in the warmer weather where things, you know, are a bit easier. But yeah, it looked like a great event. And yeah, the racing in modified was certainly eventful. So
Yeah, definitely looked like it. And a couple of comments come out of that as well. Lee Grace once again is that, what's your thoughts on pushing the body forward? I'm guessing that's to do with say steering that sort of side of things.
Yeah, I've never been a huge forward fan. I mean, there's I definitely think the body should be mounted forward of neutral. I don't think there's really any bodies out there that, you know, you will get the most out of the body at neutral. Putting it forward basically gives you more steering, which if you're like for more accomplished racers, generally 95% of the time they're looking for more steering, because that's kind of like, you look at F1 and stuff too, and it's rare that a driver will say, you know, I've got too much steering, but the rear's still hooked up. So if you can manage to push the body forward to an amount that feels really good for steering, but doesn't make the car loose, then you're just basically getting free lap time if you can handle it. So yeah, and then you can also like turn down your steering lock, and then you get like less scrubbing on the front tires, less overheating. So if you got that more natural steering from say the body, you don't have to use as much, you know, mechanical lock on the car. So yeah, it's kind of just like a balance. A lot of the trend these days is super far forward. Personally, I wouldn't go too much. Like, say the window would be between maybe 3 to 5 mil on the center line of the wheel arch. And yeah, I don't tend to go too much further forward than that, because there's a point where you kind of undo what you're trying to do, and it just makes the car snappy and horrible to drive. So the bodies are designed that way a bit for a reason. So, and obviously the wheel arches and wheel wells don't line up properly, so you get a lot of rubbing on the tires and stuff. Oh, sorry, from the tire on the body if you go too far forward. So yeah, the 3 to 5 mil marks generally for me are pretty good starting point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've actually seen that you have some pretty cool like cutting jigs and all that sort of thing for the
yeah.
Us in Vegas, so head on over and grab something like that. Looks like it makes it a lot easier. I've tried cutting them out by hand before, and it's tough.
Oh, it's a lot of prepping a body is a lot of work in on-road. Like, I'm jealous of off-road where you can like use the same body for 6 months. It doesn't really get touched unless you land on a jump with the body or something. But in on-road, man, bodies are the biggest thing. Like, you just end up preparing them left, right, and center. So
yeah, like realistically in the off-road scene, you probably need 2 different bodies, and one sort of I would consider as like a high grip body, and the other one's a low grip body, and
yeah, that's super nice.
More wing towards the rear of it, and that's it. You know, I'm still running those same bodies that I took to like 2018 nationals or
wow,
worlds and stuff. So yeah,
wow,
those bodies on. So that's awesome.
That's crazy.
Tony Fern's actually come up with a really good question as well. If you can't race at events, will you host/organize events like the ATS?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke to him a bit about this, and you know, other guys like Chris Mitchell and stuff as well. And yeah, the ATS, we had such an amazing thing going back then. The thing is, like, I would start it up in a heartbeat again now. It's just obviously with how much has happened between when ATS stopped because of COVID basically, and now it's just totally gone, you know, to levels, you know, it's just not feasible for me personally, you know, anymore. So the only way it can start back up again is, you know, with a team. And Tony, you know, has been awesome in that, and I hope that we can work together in future to start that back up. I think, you know, RC in Australia, I think needs a national. RCRA don't seem to I mean, RCRA is, you know, it's owned by the clubs as such, but for some reason, nobody wants to instigate a national series. I understand it's a lot of traveling and stuff, but if you look at every other motorsport on the planet, it's a nationals is like, it's normally a series, you know, it's not just based off, you know, two finals, one in a year, basically, that you have to perform. It's, you know, consistency. So I think like something like, even if it's only best 2 out of 4 or something like that, you know, that you don't have to attend all, it'd be great to see a national series replace, say, a state titles. Because like a state titles, in my opinion, doesn't really mean as anything, because like you've got people from outside the state. So, you know, it's like, is it really a state title? What is it? You know, so to me, canning the whole state titles series makes a lot more sense than replacing it with a national series that, you know, has points that contribute to a championship, which then crowns an overall champion based off consistency. And, you know, you wouldn't have to run all the events, as I said, like 2 of 4 or 3 of 5 or something like that. And yeah, I think that would make more sense. So that's basically what ATS was set to achieve, was doing like a championship kind of thing. And we tried to get sponsors into it and, you know, collect the kind of ETS style feel or AOC feel that kind of Scotty gives to his events. And Chris is the perfect man, obviously, on the commentating as well. And you're doing a lot of awesome stuff now as well, like what he's done. And yeah, it'd be amazing to start it back up again. It's just, yeah, we just have to work out the details and just try and get a bit of help. And then maybe I would race more, you know, if we could manage to get it up and running again, and I had to be there. But yeah, arranging stuff like some state delegates and stuff like that could just help out with the organization, slim down what we had, because before we were dragging around tents and, you know, multiple suitcases, and, you know, we were barely breaking even on the whole series just because of how much we were paying for, you know, shipping and extra luggage and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it just kind of wasn't feasible in the end. But then as soon as we started getting amazing entries for Moorebank, we had over 100 people entered. We had everything, had the tires, had the trophies, like we were fully geared to go with our, you know, what by far our biggest event ever. It had about 500 mil of rain in a weekend. We honestly had the most rain in Sydney in I don't know how many years, but like it was just absolutely bucketing the whole weekend, and we actually just cancelled the whole thing. We cancelled all our flights, all our accommodation, with most of which wasn't refundable. So, you know, it was kind of a bit of a, you know, kick in the shins. But yeah, I would love to start it back up again, and you know, I think racers want that kind of thing. It's just like nobody says it because what we have now works, and, you know, it's a state title system. But I think, you know, if you give the racers, you know, and show them what can be possible, I think they really enjoy the format of ATS and what we did there. So yeah, plan is to get it up and running. You just need a bit of help, really. So.
Oh, I'll be there in a heartbeat, mate. You just say the word,
Thanks,
I'll
man.
be there. I'm sure Tony Firth will be going.
Oh yeah, Tony's a legend, and honestly, what he's doing with the video streaming and stuff now is just taking RC in Australia and event coverage to another level. Like normally we could never watch, you know, interviews after races and, you know, all the action with a follow cam and, you know, uninterrupted, and it's exceptional. So hats off to Tony. Like he's done an amazing job, and I think that's like a massive step in the right direction. To, you know, just showing RC as a whole and showing it professionally. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing moving forward. And when we do ATS again, that will definitely be on the cards. Tony will hopefully be the head of that, so we take care of all that and make it a really good show. So.
Yeah, he'll be all over it. It's great work.
I'm sure.
Tony. He does a great job.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All right. We'll start wrapping things up here as well. We've been talking for an hour and 10. Obviously, you know, you've been to some massive events over your time. I would like to ask, you know, what would you consider to be your favorite overall event, whether it be worlds, you know, nationals, or just events like TITC, AWESOMATRIX, that sort of thing? What would you consider to be your favorite event of all time?
Oh, geez. It's hard to put my finger on one because they're cool for different reasons. Like a worlds is cool because you see, like, you know, all the drivers under pressure, everyone's kind of feeling it, and the atmosphere is not quite as, you know, bubbly and stuff as the TITC. It's more serious. You've got all the manufacturers there, all the mechanics there, all the best drivers in the world there, and, you know, everyone wants to win. So you kind of it's just you kind of feel the pressure in the atmosphere, and there's something cool, you know, about that, just being at the absolute pinnacle of RC, you know, seeing what this means to all those guys, you know, all those paid drivers and stuff. Like it's their livelihood, and, you know, it's it's everything for them. So, you know, a world championship means the world. So yeah, it was cool to go to Beijing in 2016, I believe it was, when Ronald won his world title. And Ronald and I have been mates for a long time. So seeing him and being able to, you know, be there for his world's win was awesome. And yeah, just seeing the emotion and stuff like that, it's pretty cool to see what there's, you know, what it means to them. And, you know, so yeah, worlds for that reason. But on the other, sorry, I'm going to give you two. But on the other side of that, in terms of just like a cool, chill, fun, you know, relaxed event, it's like it's close between like AOCs and TITCs. But I'm going to go with TITC just because I've gone so many times and it's never failed as such. You know, it's always lived up to the hype, and there's always been top drivers. Everyone's chill. You can just go chat to whoever you want. Everyone's walking around the pits. There's music on, and you know, it's a long race, so you don't feel like you got a lot of practice, so you don't feel like, you know, you're under pressure kind of thing. You got, yeah, I got heaps of practice, like whatever. If you don't get out for a run or two, like it's no big stress. The schedule also makes it really good because it's like split up into like two sectors. So sometimes you only have to be there from say 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and you finish racing for the day. So you can kind of just chill out. And then the next day it'll be from say 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So it kind of gives you a bit of a break and allows you to have a bit of time to either check over the car or go chat, or, you know, not even be at the track if that, you know, that's what you want to do, and just relax a bit after the several days of practice. So yeah, for different reasons, different events. Sorry to give you two, but yeah, they're totally probably opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, TITC, you still get your competitiveness and the top drivers, but you get to see them perform and stuff on a more, you know, relaxed kind of level, I guess. And then on the other side of that, you've got, you know, the best in the world, you know, giving it everything to win a world title. So yeah, they're probably my two most favorite events.
And I know you don't realistically follow too much of the off-road side of things, but are you sort of following much of the lead up into the off-road 10 scale worlds this year, or are you sort of focusing a little bit more on the 10 scale on-road worlds coming up?
To be honest, like, yeah, in terms of 10 scale on road, nothing yet. I'm more focused on like nearer stuff like ETS and stuff, and making sure, you know, all of our drivers there have got all of our latest stuff and what they need. So yeah, Tony's obviously crucial in that, being our big, massive distributor in Germany. He, you know, distributes everything to all of our team drivers that need it. But yeah, the off-road worlds, haven't been paying a massive amount of attention. I know where it is, so that's a start. But yeah, and I saw Jared Mance over there as well, which is awesome. So yeah, it'll be cool. Like, he's obviously done a lot of practice now over there, and it'll be cool to hopefully see him take it. I think Chris Sturdy's heading over, is it? You would probably know. Chris is heading over.
He's definitely heading over. We've got a good field heading over this year. So.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, Chris is like, as you've seen at say Reedy races and stuff, Chris is right there on his day. He can really mix it with the best in the world. So yeah, it'll be cool to see those guys performing. It's always cool, you know, seeing any class at the top level is always fun to watch, you know, because you've been to a worlds yourself, you know, just what, you know, the pressure on everyone and what's at stake. So it's always cool to watch the high intensity kind of finals and stuff and see the emotion and everything after the races and stuff. So yeah, I'll be following along for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully, almost certainly we'll be heading over for this world as well. So I think it's there in person. And hopefully watch good old Sturdy have a good win, hopefully. No, fingers crossed for that as well. I really hope he has a good run. So it'd be good to see Australia on the top of the podium. So that'd be absolutely awesome. I know for locals around Southeast Queensland region, there's just a little bit of a sort of sidetrack from that. But I think in 2 weeks' time, or about a week and a half from now, I think it is, that they're having like a fundraiser for Sturdy to help him get over there as well as So any help, any people that want to come practice the charges, by all means, jump on in and give the Sturdy a bit of a helping hand as well. We'll start to wrap things up here. First of all, I'd like to say a massive thank you for jumping on board and taking, you know, a fair bit of your time out. You know, it's not just right. We're talking, but it's no worries. The side of things from your side obviously as well. So I really appreciate your time, and
you're welcome.
Thanks for jumping on the chat, man.
It's awesome. I always love, you know, sharing a bit of background and just, you know, just chatting about, you know, all the time I spend in RC. I love this hobby. I love, you know, everybody in it. Like, it's such a massive, like, an amazing society, and yeah, everyone just, like, I love trying to contribute back and everything. And what I do now, I'm just so lucky that so many people support my passion and allow me to do what I do. So yeah, doing stuff like this is honestly a pleasure. It's it's awesome.
Brilliant. Before we wrap things up, actually, I forgot to mention, also Matt Steckold is one of the other half of running RC Race Media, so he's on the camera as well. So I have to give him a big shout out. So he's the secondary man, or as I said, the other half to 21st work.
Okay.
And does a lot of work there. So I have to give him a big shout out. Yeah, so we'll wrap things up, man. Thank you so much for being on, and I'll come over for beers later tonight, I guess.
Yeah, man, sounds good. We're about 10 minutes away, so yeah, I'll catch you soon.
No, too easy, mate. Thank you so much, and we'll see you trackside one day or another.
That's good. All right, thanks, man. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. See you guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Ciao.